Welcome to Beneath the Surface, the dark side of crime. Today's story is both heartbreaking and haunting. The case of 19-year-old Miya Marcano, whose life was tragically cut short by an obsession that spiraled out of control. What began as a weekend trip home to visit her family ended in a disturbing disappearance, unraveling a tale of obsession, failed investigations, and missed red flags. Join us as we dive deep into Mia's world, her mysterious disappearance, and the family's relentless search for answers. This is a story that will leave you questioning the trust we place in the systems meant to protect us. Chapter 1. A Bright Future Ahead. Miya Marcano was more than just a bright young woman with a promising future. She was a daughter, a sister, and a friend. Born and raised in Pembroke Pines, Florida, Miya was always surrounded by love. Her father, Marlon, and mother, Emma, had separated when she was young, but they both remained deeply involved in her life. Mia's younger brother, Marlon Jr., was the light of her life. The two shared a bond that was inseparable, often spending hours playing video games, riding bikes, or just talking about their dreams for the future. From a young age, Miya showed a natural talent for creativity. Her passion for the arts was evident. She was constantly drawing, designing clothes for her dolls, and sketching ideas for her future. When she was accepted into the University of Central Florida, Miya saw it as an opportunity to spread her wings while staying close to her roots. She chose to major in the arts, focusing on fashion design, with hopes of eventually merging her creativity with a career in sports medicine or physiotherapy. Mia's family was everything to her. She loved Florida with its warm weather and vibrant culture, but it was the connections with her loved ones that gave her life its meaning. She was often the glue that held people together, whether it was at family gatherings or her friendships in college. Her friends often referred to her as the life of the party, someone who could turn any situation into a fun and memorable moment. In her second year at the university, Miya moved into the Arden Villas student apartments, located just off campus. It was an easy commute to school, and the complex was full of young, ambitious students like her. Miya thrived in the lively environment, and she quickly became involved in organizing local events and attending campus social activities. Despite the challenges of balancing schoolwork, part-time jobs, and her creative aspirations, Miya always made time for the people who mattered to her most. Chapter 2. The Day. Everything changed. September 24th, 2021, was supposed to be a routine weekend for Miya, a simple trip home to visit her family. She packed her things in anticipation of the flight, excited to spend time with her brother and catch up with her parents. But as the day wore on, a sense of unease began to creep in. Miya was always prompt with her communication, particularly when traveling. Her family knew that she would text or call as soon as she boarded her flight. But on this day, the texts and calls never came. Emma tried reaching out to Miya multiple times, but there was no response. By the time the evening arrived, her worry turned to fear. Mia's flight should have landed hours ago, and her daughter had always checked in as soon as she arrived at her destination. By 9:30 p.m., Mia's mother knew something wasn't right. She contacted Mia's roommates to see if they had heard from her. When no one had, Emma made the difficult decision to call the authorities. The idea that her daughter could be in danger seemed impossible. But the lack of any communication made it clear that something had happened. The police were dispatched to Arden Villas to conduct a welfare check. The wait for answers was agonizing. Emma, along with Mia's father, Marlon, stayed on the phone, trying to make sense of the situation. The officers, at first, did not seem alarmed. They assumed Miya had just missed her flight or decided to stay elsewhere. But as the hours passed and the situation remained unchanged, Mia's family began to worry that something far more sinister had occurred. Chapter 3. A Troubling Discovery. Deputy Samir Paulino arrived at Arden Villas at 10 p.m. to carry out the welfare check. His initial impression was that everything seemed normal. The apartment complex was quiet, and no immediate signs of distress were visible. However, when he arrived at Mia's apartment, something didn't sit right. The door was unlocked, and the roommates, who were just as concerned as Mia's family, let the deputy aside. The sight that greeted them was disturbing. Mia's room was a mess, with red stains on her pillows, and her luggage, packed and ready to go, sat beside her desk. The window, locks her father had installed for added security, had been broken off. There were no obvious signs of forced entry, but the disarray was alarming. The bedding was tangled, and her personal items were scattered around the room. Deputy Paulino immediately called for backup, but rather than treating the scene as a potential crime scene, he simply noted the signs of disorder. Mia's phone had gone dead, and she had failed to make it to her flight. While the deputy was concerned, he left the apartment without taking further steps to secure the scene. He assumed it was a case of a missing person who had perhaps left in a rush or gotten distracted. At 10 p.m., Mia's family received the first indication that this wasn't a simple missing person case. The deputy left, and with that, Mia's family would now be responsible for navigating a maze of red tape and unanswered questions. Chapter 4. The Unwanted Attention of Armando Cabero. As the investigation moved forward, the police began speaking with Mia's roommates, who revealed something that set off alarm bells. Miya had been receiving unwanted attention from one of the maintenance workers at Arden Villas, Armando Cabero. According to Mia's roommates, Armando had developed an unhealthy obsession with Miya. He would linger near her apartment, constantly trying to talk to her, even after she had rejected his advances on several occasions. Miya had shared her concerns with her friends, telling them that Armando had been increasingly persistent and making her uncomfortable. She had mentioned feeling uneasy about him following her around the complex and sending her unwanted texts and messages. Despite her clear disinterest, Armando would regularly show up at her door, asking her to go out with him or spend time together. The situation became more troubling when Mia's roommates mentioned that Armando had even sent Miya $700 via Cash App, an attempt at bribery disguised as a compliment for being pretty. Miya, unsettled by his persistence, had returned the money, but his behavior had escalated to a point where Miya didn't know how to make him stop. Mia's family immediately grew concerned. Armando's actions were indicative of someone with an obsessive fixation, and this raised questions about his involvement in Mia's disappearance. His presence at the scene now seemed more than just coincidental, and his behavior added a dark layer to the mystery. Chapter 5. A Frightening Presence. Mia's family arrived at Arden Villas at 4 a.m. on September 25th 2021, to help with the search. As they arrived, they saw someone they did not expect, Armando. His sudden appearance raised alarms. What was he doing there? Why had he shown up at the scene so late? Armando claimed that he had heard from a coworker that Miya was missing and that he was concerned, but his presence was disconcerting. Mia's family had already learned about his disturbing behavior, and seeing him show up uninvited only deepened their suspicions. They confronted him, but his responses were evasive and contradictory. When asked about his whereabouts, Armando claimed he had been sleeping and had just learned about Mia's disappearance. His involvement in the case seemed odd, especially given the growing evidence of his fixation on Miya. Her family began to realize that Armando's behavior was too consistent with someone trying to insert themselves into the investigation. Why was he suddenly so eager to help? Why was he there at 4:02 a.m. when no one had asked for his presence? His insistence on participating in the search made him an even more significant person of interest. Chapter 6. The investigation begins. As the investigation unfolded, Mia's family grew more frustrated with the police's slow response. It was becoming clear that Mia's disappearance was not a simple case of her leaving voluntarily. The evidence, Armando's presence at the scene, his criminal history, and the strange circumstances surrounding her apartment pointed directly to him. But despite these red flags, the police remained hesitant to make an arrest. Mia's family decided to take matters into their own hands. They began covertly surveilling Armando, hoping to gather more evidence. Their actions led to several key developments, including the discovery that Armando had been using a master key to enter Mia's apartment on the night she went missing. Surveillance footage showed Armando's car leaving the complex late that evening, and phone records indicated that he had contacted the apartment office at strange hours. Yet, despite the mounting evidence against him, the police continued to drag their feet. Mia's family couldn't understand why authorities weren't taking more immediate action, especially when the case appeared to have such clear leads. Chapter 7. A shocking turn of events. On September 27th, 2021, Armando vanished. He stopped answering his phone, and his whereabouts became unclear. His sudden disappearance left Mia's family feeling helpless. Had he fled the area? Had he taken Miya with him? The questions were endless, and the uncertainty only deepened the fear that something sinister had occurred. Days passed, and Mia's family waited for any sign of progress. Finally, on October 2nd, 2021, they received a tip that would change everything. Mia's body had been found. The discovery was made in a remote area near the abandoned Timber Scan apartments, about 18 miles from Arden Villas. The news hit Mia's family like a tidal wave. Their worst fears had been confirmed. Their beloved Miya was gone. Chapter 8. The discovery of a body. When Mia's body was discovered, it sent shockwaves through the community. She was found bound with black duct tape, her hands and feet restrained. Her mouth had been taped shut, and she was wearing a robe and jeans, the same clothes she had been seen wearing earlier that day. Her belongings, including her bag and ID were found nearby. The body was discovered in a heavily wooded area, making it clear that Armando had attempted to dispose of her body in an isolated location. The autopsy revealed that Mia's cause of death was undetermined due to decomposition. However, the circumstances surrounding her death pointed to foul play. There were no signs of trauma or sexual assault, but the physical evidence, Mia's blood on Armando's body, bite marks on his fingers, painted a troubling picture. It was becoming clear that Armando had been the one responsible for Mia's death. But with his suicide just days after Mia's body was found, the family was left with no answers. Chapter 9. The Final Revelations. The investigation that followed Armando's death was thorough, and the evidence continued to mount. Mia's family, although devastated by the loss of their daughter, were determined to ensure that Armando's death didn't stop them from finding justice. Forensic tests confirmed that the duct tape found around Mia's body was the same tape found in Armando's car. His involvement in her death seemed indisputable. But without Armando's testimony, the full story of what happened that day would never be known. Mia's family was left to piece together the fragments of their daughter's last moments, hoping that the truth would eventually emerge, even if they could never hear it from Armando himself. Chapter 10. The Legacy of Miya Marcano. Miya Marcano's tragic death left an indelible mark not just on her family, but on the entire community. In the aftermath of her disappearance and the discovery of her body, her parents, Marlon and Emma, along with her younger brother Marlon Jr., faced a reality they never imagined, an unrelenting grief that would follow them every day. Yet, amid the heartbreak, there was an unwavering determination to ensure Mia's death would not be in vain. Mia's family, devastated by the loss of their daughter, began to focus on ways they could prevent similar tragedies from happening to others. As they navigated the overwhelming pain of losing Miya, they found strength in their shared love for her and a desire to honor her memory. They understood that the fight for justice was far from over, and they were determined to make meaningful changes, not just for themselves, but for all those who had suffered due to flaws in safety systems. Miya's Law, a groundbreaking change. One of the most significant outcomes of Miya's family's advocacy was the passing of Miya's Law in 2022. The law, also known as Senate Bill 898, was a direct response to the lack of security protocols in residential complexes like Arden Villas, where Miya lived. The law mandates that property owners and managers conduct thorough background checks on all employees who have access to tenants' apartments, including maintenance workers. Before Miya's Law, there were no universal requirements to vet individuals working in apartment complexes for violent criminal histories. Armando Cabero's disturbing behavior and his access to Miya's apartment highlighted the dangers of unregulated access. Miya's Law requires that apartment tenants receive a 24-hour notice before maintenance staff enter their homes, ensuring that residents have a say in who enters their space. The law also mandates better tracking of keys, access logs, and maintenance requests to prevent unauthorized entry. Miya's family worked tirelessly to push for the bill's passage, reaching out to lawmakers, organizing rallies, and sharing Miya's story with the public. The law's passing was bittersweet, as it would forever remind her family of the painful journey they had gone through. But it also brought them a sense of accomplishment, a sense that Mia's legacy would live on, not just through memories, but through tangible change that could protect others. The Miya Marcano Foundation, a lifeline for other families. Alongside the legislative changes, Mia's family established the Miya Marcano Foundation, MMF, a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting the families of missing persons and advocating for better safety practices in rental housing. The foundation works directly with families who are experiencing what Mia's loved ones went through, the anguish of not knowing where their loved one is, and the frustration of navigating an often indifferent legal system. The MMF provides resources for families, such as funding for search efforts, legal counsel, and emotional support services. The foundation has worked on several high-profile missing persons cases, providing much-needed advocacy and ensuring that these families' voices are heard. One of the MMF's most significant programs is the Safe and Secure Accreditation Program, which helps apartment complexes and housing communities implement security measures to better protect residents. The foundation collaborates with security professionals, law enforcement agencies, and property management companies to ensure that housing complexes across the country are safer places to live. By educating property managers about proper procedures, creating awareness about tenant rights, and advocating for better training for maintenance staff, the MMF is leading the charge to ensure that no other family has to endure the pain and heartache that Mia's family did. Mia's mother, Emma, has become a vocal advocate for the MMF, frequently appearing at press conferences, writing articles, and speaking publicly about her daughter's case. She has said that although nothing will bring Miya back, working to prevent other families from experiencing the same heartbreak gives her a sense of purpose. Her words are often filled with emotion, but there's strength in them. She's learned how to channel her pain into positive action, helping others while still mourning the daughter she lost. Her voice, steady, but always tinged with sorrow, has become a beacon of hope for families in similar situations. Emma has made it her mission to not only ensure Mia's legacy lives on, but to help others find hope in the midst of unimaginable loss. Conclusion: the unfinished story of Miya Marcano. Miya Marcano's story is one of unrealized potential, of a bright young woman whose future was stolen in a moment. Her case is a reminder that even in the safest places, danger can lurk, and sometimes the systems designed to protect us fail. Mia's tragic death uncovered deep flaws in the way apartment complexes are managed and the way law enforcement handles cases of missing persons. Yet, while Mia's life was cut short, her family's journey for justice has led to real, substantive change. Mia's law is a direct result of their pain and their refusal to accept that such a tragedy could happen again without consequence. The creation of the Miya Marcano Foundation has allowed her family to honor her memory in a way that is both healing and impactful, providing a voice to those who feel voiceless. Mia's death revealed the importance of vigilance, of ensuring that our homes, our most private spaces, are safe. It showed the need for better communication between tenants, property managers, and law enforcement, It highlighted the ways in which obsessive behavior can escalate if not checked, and the devastating consequences that can arise from ignoring red flags. As for Mia's family, the pain of her absence is something they will carry with them every day. Her brother, Marlon Jr., often speaks of how much he misses Mia's voice, her laughter, and her guidance. There are moments when he wishes he could pick up the phone and tell her about the successes in his life, but he knows she is watching over him. He believes that the work they are doing with the foundation is the best way to honor her legacy. Mia's death has shaped his life in ways he never expected, and he's determined to keep her spirit alive through their efforts to change the system. Emma, too, has become a fierce protector of other families, using her voice to advocate for those whose loved ones are still missing or in danger. She no longer looks back with regret, wishing for a different outcome. Instead, she channels her grief into her mission, finding strength in the work she does every day. Though her daughter's life was tragically cut short, Emma has found solace in knowing that Mia's memory has sparked change, that Mia is not forgotten, and that her death has, in some way, saved others. Miya Marcano's story is unfinished, and perhaps it always will be. There are questions that will never be answered, questions about what happened that day, about the choices that led to her tragic end. But her family's fight for justice ensures that her story will continue to impact others, ensuring that her voice, even in death, continues to resonate. Thank you for watching Beneath the Surface. Miya Marcano's story has touched all of us deeply. While we may never fully understand the depths of her tragedy, we know that her legacy lives on through the laws, the foundation, and the change she has inspired. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your engagement helps to amplify stories like Mia's and ensure that these crucial conversations continue. Stay safe, and remember, sometimes the truth is just beneath the surface.